Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Lewinter, licensed acupuncturist at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Lewinter. I am also an acupuncturist at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, Mom, are you excited to talk about today's topic?
I'm very excited. There's lots to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. In fact, the shirt that I wore today with the little palm trees, I wore that for this occasion.
Excellent.
Yeah. The reason why is because the palm trees can handle extreme winds, just a tremendous amount of stress, rain, wind, heat, but they're able to survive the wind because of their strong root system and their flexibility. Also, their shape and the fronds, but the root system and being flexible. So, if anyone's wondering, well, why are you talking about palm trees? Well, because we're going to talk about stress, and we're going to talk about a simple acupuncture treatment that can help bring someone back to feeling more like themselves. Okay. And wind in East Asian medicine can be compared to, well, how would you say wind can be compared to what? Like
Change, abrupt change. Yeah.
abrupt change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So the palm tree can handle wind. And it can handle wind, abrupt change like a hurricane because of its flexibility and its root system. So, we're going to talk about two acupuncture points. All right. When I started doing acupuncture, I would have complex treatments where there were many points that I would do. And I still sometimes do those treatments. But for patients who I've been seeing for a while and they come in and they are experiencing extreme anxiety or they are feeling overwhelmed, maybe they're feeling disconnected from their body, perhaps because they are going through IVF and they just experienced some setback or some bad news.
Yes.
I have a treatment that I think can really help someone feel grounded and help them let go of some of the stress that they're experiencing. So, would you like to introduce those 2 points?
Well, I think the 2 points that you're talking about would be LI10, English translation, translate to arm 3 mile.
And yeah, and LI stands for large intestine. So there's
Mhm.
these 12 main meridians, and it can be a little bit confusing because they're named after organs. So we don't want to get hung up in this LI large intestine thing, but the numbering is LI10.
Mhm. And one of the things that I often say to people is these are just names of the meridians of the energy pathways in which in the organ system they go through. It doesn't mean that there's anything pathological going on with that particular name. So LI10 is one, arm 3 mile,
Hmm.
and the second one that we're going to be discussing is spleen or SP6. And that is three yin junction. And what that's alluding to is that this is a point where three different yin meridians connect.
Right. Yeah. Very, very powerful point. And what you're talking about is that there's these different channels, meridians, and there's
Mhm.
three of them. So it's like, kind of here, here, and here, and they all come together at this
At
one
this
point.
one
So
particular point. Yeah. So when you needle a point such as that, what you're doing is you're actually stimulating that energy to three of the yin meridians.
yeah, it's a wonderful point. It's just like that you can do that one point and
Mhm.
activate those three meridians, those three channels. And I love that it is an earth point. Okay, so what is
Yes.
the earth? The earth is something that supports us. We're here on the earth. It literally supports us. Um,
We
we
couldn't do
plant
without it.
I don't know. I've always been on the earth. So I couldn't even imagine. And so the earth supports us. We plant seeds in the ground. Hopefully those seeds grow. And if they're plants that we can eat, they can nourish us.
Mhm, mhm.
We can plant fruit trees and we can eat the fruit that is grown from the earth and we can have experience the sweetness of life.
Sweetness of earth.
Yeah. So there's two earth channels, a yin earth channel and a yang earth channel, and we're talking about the yin earth channel.
That's correct.
So the earth about support, nourishment, but also the yin being stillness, calm, um, uh, we might say,
Grounding.
what, pardon?
Grounding.
Grounding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And then the other point is a metal point,
Mhm,
and it is on the outside, and that would be a yang point. And we talked a little bit about metal last time, and the metal is can be about letting go. It can be about holding on to the things that are of value, but letting go of the waste material. What else could we say about metal?
And the large intestine literally is where we take in the food that has been broken down. It's the last place where we can squeeze the preciousness of that food out. And we can call it the gem, the very, very gem, the densest part of the nourishment. And then that what is not taken in from that point then goes to waste.
Right, right.
So so it's really, the metal element is really so precious in that it really does bring the very, very final piece of bringing the jewels into the body.
Definitely. And so what we have is we have these two meridians that work really well together.
Mhm,
A earth yin and a yang metal. And I love doing these 2 points. So that would be like a point right above the ankle on the inside, on the yin side, and a point right at the elbow, kind of like right here,
mhm,
uh, on the outside, the yang side, and we're kind of in the most simple way, we're just balancing yin and yang.
mhm.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Now, but we're not just doing that, because as you said, when we're working with spleen 6, we're activating all three of those yin channels. So we're stimulating in some ways not just two channels, but at least four channels.
Four
Okay.
channels.
Uh,
Yes.
So that kind of excites me as an acupuncturist. It's like, oh wow, what a great value. Now, another thing that's great about these points, the spleen 6, this earth yin 6, and LI10, the metal yang 10, is that these points don't hurt. Okay. There's, and people ask all the time, does acupuncture hurt? Does acupuncture hurt? Like, in general, no, but sometimes.
Yes.
And there's even styles of acupuncture, like dry needling or a thrusting technique, where you're going back and forth and you're looking for kind of a contraction, and
Mhm,
it's like that always hurts. Well, that treatment might can sometimes be very good for one particular problem, but I found the treatment that I'm referring to be helpful if someone has experienced some sort of trauma. Okay,
mhm,
bad news. Um, they are experiencing emotional stuckness. They are feeling overwhelmed by the world. Okay. It, and they just need kind of a balancing of yin and yang, and they need the treatment to not hurt, and also um, acupuncture, whether we like it or not, it is crossing a boundary. What
mhm.
boundary is it crossing? it's crossing the boundary of the skin. And if someone has experienced extreme anxiety or extremely bad news, um, adding another cross of boundary may not be the best thing that they need. So when I do this treatment, I use a very, very, very thin needle, a needle that's maybe as wide as 2 or 3 hairs. Okay. And I do this treatment at points that don't hurt. And I found when I do this treatment over and over again that people are able to, within a few minutes, feel more like themselves, and they are able to kind of let their guard down a little bit. They're able to move forward from their emotional stuckness or rumination, and they feel better. And I love helping people feel better. So I just want to, I know we said a lot there, but I wanted to lay the foundation of why I have over the years come to these 2 points. Like I said, I used to do very complex treatments, many points, and this isn't the only treatment I ever do, but for a particular time, if I feel like someone needs this treatment, I'm so glad to be able to have the confidence of doing just 2 points, 4 needles, and knowing this treatment can really make a significant difference. Uh, so yeah.
Well, very often when we're doing a point on large intestine, or many times other points as well, but when you're doing large intestine, very often you'll see or hear that person take a deep sigh. The, and what's connected to the large intestine but the lung? So they're bringing new life. They're bringing that heavenly chi into that experience, that big breath,
Yep.
that letting go,
Right, right.
So,
And when you say connected, this is according to the philosophy of East Asian medicine. There's a connection between the large intestine and the lung, and we're not going to get into that
yeah.
theory today. But it's interesting how the large intestine is about letting go, okay, and also the lungs are about letting go a little bit too, bringing air in and then letting
Letting it go.
air go. So and sometimes when we work on the yang or yang meridian, it can also affect the yin. So we're getting into a little bit of theory, which we love, and I love talking about it, but it also can be a little bit confusing if one hasn't studied um, some of the basics. And we're glad to share that and teach that to whatever degree we can.
Yeah. So I'll just mention something about LI10 because I like learning about the spirit of the points as well. And LI10, the real strength is, or the energetic of that point is to give strength to walk into a new phase of life. So it's strengthening our walk, it's strengthening how we present, how we go forward. And as you were talking about people that have just gotten really bad news or been traumatized by something, that's one of the things that they don't know how to go forward. What's the next step?
I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that stuckness, okay, um,
Mm-hmm.
you can't let go of it, or the feeling was so profound that it seems like it just can't be moved, and to be able to offer a point, right about here,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is all about movement, because also when we experience a setback, traumatic event, terrible news, we it depletes our energy. It's like all of a sudden you're exhausted, or you might be frozen and feel paralyzed. So this point, like you said, arm 3 miles, um, is about movement, distance, giving one some energy to be able to continue the journey. Because life is a journey, and we're not meant to be just stuck in a traumatic event or just stuck in bad news. we're going to experience that, but we're also looking to move on. So how do we move on with effort and energy? So this point can the LI10 part of the treatment can give that energy to be able to get unstuck and move on.
Yeah, and to walk your life, to walk your path.
Yeah. And then you were going to say about spleen
Um,
6.
Spleen six, and one of the things is about that point, this spirit or the energetic of that point is to gathering strength and vitality. So here we are at that intersection of three yin points, powerful intersection. And what is it doing? It's giving us strength and vitality to literally take that next step, to walk our path.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And it takes also a tremendous amount of strength to handle um, bad news. So to be able to give someone that strength to continue their journey.
And this goes a little bit farther than our initial conversation, is that without the strength, we can't transform that trauma into something that we can learn from. So we need that strength. We need that hope that there's another step to be taken to be able to literally hone the gem from whatever has happened,
Right.
and
Oh, yeah. So
put
another way,
that
like
large into
to learn the lesson. When we say
them,
hone the gem, it's to learn the lesson.
learn the lesson, to be able to see it before we can learn it, just to be able to say, oh, there's possibility here, that
Yeah.
there's a gift here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Hmm.
acupuncture in general is going to, I feel like almost any point is going to decrease inflammation, increase blood flow, relax the muscles, kind of
Yeah.
get the nervous system out of a looping pattern. It's going to provide deep rest. Like I think that those are all of the points. So we're talking about things on a more subtle, on a subtle level based on the philosophy of East Asian medicine. And I vacillate as an acupuncturist. Like sometimes I really love the name of the points and the theory and the philosophy, and then other times I think like, no, acupuncture is just going to be, any acupuncture um, has a high chance of helping someone have less inflammation, feel very relaxed, um, increase blood flow to all parts of the body. So we have a large bandwidth where we can go into the creative side and the philosophy. We can just kind of know that acupuncture also has a therapeutic benefit, simply thinking about it from the Western medical model.
Hmm. We're very accustomed to allopathic medicine, and that's kind of what you were talking about, is what does it do? It relaxes, it reduces inflammation, and so on. And those are our terms in this world at this time. That when we go back a few thousand years, now we're talking about more about spirit, and because we didn't have those words then,
Yeah.
talking about how to connect with people, and what our soul was telling us. So it's just different language.
It's different language. I remember in 1998 when I went to the Forbidden City in Beijing. I walked in and it's just so big, at first, and that was a kind of a very yang experience. Okay, and then you go further in, and there's these small little areas that have rocks and water features, and that's a very yin. And then I was seeing some of the yin yang symbols and the colors that were chosen, these dragons, all these things. And it became clear to me that this wasn't just something that like I thought was like cool, that wear like a yin yang like pendant or earring or something like that. This was actually something that is deeply in the culture and a belief system for many. So that was a real awakening. And like, so kind of alluding to what you were talking about just a moment ago of our language changes, our understanding changes, and it doesn't mean that we have to throw away the old
Oh,
ways.
yeah.
And I think that's we're also just talking about a balance of kind of those two different things.
I think that brings us around to those boundaries. We don't have to have such fixed boundaries. We don't have to have it only one way. Is that when we allow our nervous system, when we allow our heart to open, we can see both sides of the same coin.
Well, and that's where we get back to palm tree. Okay,
Okay, back to
so
palm
back to palm
tree.
tree. If the wind, the stress of life is going to happen. There's going to
It's
be
going to
sunny
happen.
days. There's going to be rainy days, and that wind happens. If we have a good root structure, we're going to be able to handle that stress
Yeah.
and move forward. And if we're not flexible enough, we might break.
Yes. It's
So
called rigidity.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So whether these 2 points are helpful because we're balancing yin and yang and we're supporting feeling grounded and feeling and able to let go, or if it's just acupuncture that helps reduce inflammation, knowing that it's 2 points, 4 needles from the perspective of Western medicine is very good because if someone feels is already overwhelmed, the dosage makes the difference between it being a medicine and a poison. So for as acupuncturists, sometimes getting the dosage just right. So if someone's overwhelmed, we don't want to overdo the acupuncture. It might be overstimulating. So this treatment, leg earth yin and arm metal yang, can be helpful for someone who's overwhelmed, simply based on the philosophy of Western medicine. And it also can be helpful when we think about the name, the story, the philosophy of East Asian medicine.
Yes, yes. An ode to palm tree.
And then it's all about, and then we just bring it back to the palm tree, which might actually be more like the wood element. So we could maybe talk about the wood element some other time. But I did want to share that one of my favorite treatments. And if you are in the Atlanta area and you're wanting to experience a very simple, but I think thoughtful and powerful acupuncture treatment, we've got just the right one for you at Metro Acupuncture in Atlanta, Georgia.
And painless.
And yeah, and that's the thing is that like if you're in anxiety, a state of anxiety, and you're in a state of fear or even frustration, you don't need to have more. You're already having enough emotional pain. You don't need to have more physical pain. So it's taken some finesse for me to really decide what are the what are the best points for that patient at that moment. And that's kind of, as an acupuncturist, it's like you don't treat the condition, you treat the patient. So we have many treatments that we like to do, and this is one that I wanted to share today.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you all for listening.
Excellent. Thanks, Mom.